Welcome to our final segment of our Town Hall on domestic violence. Joining us now is a 21 Division Criminal Investigation Bureau Detective, Mr. Scott Dale, and the chairman of Neighbourhood Watch Brampton, Nicole Cedrone, who was actually the person who was the impetus of putting this whole program together. I'll talk to you first, Detective. When you hear of all these stories, we heard our two victims who heart-wrenching stories about what happened to them. The commonality between the two of them, diversely different stories, but neither of them reported. When you see the services that are being provided, they need more financial support, but many of their victims don't report. Why is that? Why are people not reporting?
I think the common theme that we're hearing tonight is that there is fear to report. You're admitting that perhaps things are not as perfect as we'd like them to be. There is the cultural issues that we also encounter. And most importantly, we always want to believe that things will get better if we just work a little harder.
When we talk about the cultural differences, many of these services are available in multiple languages, so language is not a barrier anymore. When we watch live PD or cops, etc., and we see instances where they're called to a domestic disturbance, what is that fine line between he said, she said, and putting the bracelets on and taking someone away?
Well, first of all, we're provincially mandated to make an arrest if we have reasonable grounds to believe that an offense has taken place.
And what is the evidence of an offense taking place? What do you base your criteria to arrest on?
Well, obviously the first and most obvious would be any physical signs of assault. And what we try and do is we like to speak to each party separately, because when you speak in front of the person that is causing the issue, there's going to be fear and ultimately perhaps repercussions if the person doesn't come across truly what has occurred.
So you and your partner split them up, interview each of them independently, and maybe do a switch. You interview the other, or you work together?
Well, the idea behind separating the parties that we're speaking with is, as we're all trained police officers, we are human beings, we understand, we all come from different backgrounds, we all have families. We can understand very quickly what's going on when someone is explaining to them what their issue is. And then ultimately what we do is, if we have grounds to believe an offense has taken place, because we do believe, and that's the key that people need to remember, is that police officers are people, and we do understand, and we will believe you. We want to believe you because you've called for help. That's the big significant thing we have to remember, is you've called for help. And ultimately, if we find that there's evidence, then we will make an arrest right there.
Nicole, I'm going to go to you now. We've heard testimonies from victims, heartfelt, different examples. We've heard from service agencies. What made you want to put this together? There was something that happened, particularly in Brampton, I believe, which was the reason that brought this to the forefront and made you organize this. Share with our folks to know what that was.
I sat down with my co-chair, Michael, and we talked about different topics that we would like to cover.
This is Neighbourhood Watch.
For Neighbourhood Watch
Neighbourhood
Brampton.
Watch is an organization that solicits people to look out for your neighbour and put a neighbourhood watch, right?
Exactly. So we sat down and we picked different topics that we would do town halls on. And then at the beginning of this month, there was a murder-suicide in Brampton. The woman was killed. There was 2 children involved. The son was very badly injured. The victim was murdered. She died. And I knew that family. So I decided that I needed to do this town hall on this very important topic. It's, the amount of people who've come forward to me to tell me about their situation is staggering. You and I talked recently, Michael, about doing this town hall, and one of the things I said to you, and I felt it was weird to say, I said to you, I'm lucky because I've never been in an abusive relationship, whether it was my childhood, with my spouse, with anyone. I have never, ever been abused in any way, shape, or form. So I decided this is what we needed to do, and I needed to get help because I can't speak to this. And that's why I got as many agencies as I possibly could. One of the agencies that isn't here that I want to talk about is Children's Aid Society. Children's Aid are people who are there to help families. Unfortunately, CAS has a stigma attached to them that they drive around Brampton looking for children and they take them from parents. A lot of women have said to me they're afraid to come forward to the police or to victim services because they're afraid CAS will take their children. I will tell you, because I work with CAS because of my job, I'm an early childhood educator, CAS will work, they support and enhance, and they encourage families to stay together. That's what they do. So CAS will not take your children from you. So if you do call the police or you do reach out to Victim Services, Hope 24/7, the police and CAS will not. They will not take your child or children from you. They will work as hard as they can to support you and encourage that family unit to heal and become healthy.
So Nicole brings up a huge point, and it comes
really
back
important.
to reporting it. It comes back to police. What do you define from a legal standpoint as physical abuse? What would constitute physical abuse?
Well, I think, just very quickly, there was a few mentions earlier about different types of abuse. Mm-hmm. And although the physical one is the most important, obviously we can't forget about the other ones, the verbal, you have the
mental,
emotional
financial.
Abuse. Yeah.
I thought the birth control one just rocked my mind. I never thought of that.
And unfortunately, the assault is the one we always focus on.
Right.
But to put it in context,
yes.
Ultimately with an assault, it's any unwanted physical contact between you and someone else. That's the easiest way to put it. And there's always that, well, you know, they didn't hit me, they didn't push me, but they did touch you. You didn't want it. And it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship.
But there is that fine line, not to defend, but there is that fine line between a push or a defensive move or an assault or an overt violent act towards someone.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with the he said, she said aspect?
Well, the easiest way to explain it would be this. When you have a partner, and we'll just leave it as a partner because it affects everybody in the community. It's not just male, female. Mm-hmm. You have the aggressor. The dominant aggressor is how we refer to it, because it's easy to say, well, you know what, she or he punched me, right? You know, well, why? What happened? Well, they may have punched you because you were coming at them with a knife. So, yes, there is sometimes a part two to that, but the part two is usually because there is fear for safety. So we're very careful about how we investigate and how we categorize the assault. So it's simply put, if you are putting hands on somebody, and it can be a push, you can shove somebody and not actually punch them or what we traditionally see as an assault, but you can shove them hard enough, as we heard earlier, and suffer great injury that is still to this day affecting that person. What
would you say to someone who's afraid of contacting the police when something happens? Just because they contact you doesn't mean that the whole world is coming to an end. Is there not some accumulative process as well in reporting something and having a log of what's going on? How would you characterize the trepidation of someone to a report to the police?
I think if you feel that things are out of control, that you need to, when you start to actually think, I might need to call the police, I need to call somebody, that's not a bad thing, because you recognize that things are out of control, where someone won't take a break to cool off, go for a walk, calm down, where it's just not happening.
Deceleration does not work.
No, it doesn't mean that we're going to arrest somebody because you're having an argument. We're not going to take your children from you. We're not, as much as sometimes we're portrayed this way, we're not a scary organization. We want to help you. If we can, we offer all the support services that are available. We have some great services that are available through the region that we've heard about tonight, and ultimately it's a partnership with those organizations to properly serve the community. And as I said, we don't necessarily arrest, but we can offer those services to those people that are in need.
Can you share a story with us?
Yes, if this will. I think it will encompass all everything we're trying to accomplish here tonight. Everything we're trying to identify is I dealt with a domestic violence incident in which the complainant, I could spend hours talking about, but I'll try and summarize it here. Is they had lived a life of abuse. physical, emotional, mental, financial, everything we've talked about here tonight. And from speaking to them when I was interviewing this person, and as they were explaining it to me, it seemed this was the norm. And I was taken aback by some of the stuff that I had heard. Although I've heard a lot, there was some things that did make me take pause. And ultimately, at the end of it, the services were offered to her. She used them. And ultimately, when became involved in therapy, and I still maintain contact with this victim today. I'm happy to say that things have worked out, but through the whole process, all of the organizations, victim services, witness assistance program, and through the court services was very helpful. And ultimately, this person did realize that they do have value, they are important, and they do deserve and have the right to a safe and happy life.
And someone listened to them and someone believed them.
Yes, and with respect to court, there was a conviction, and there was a lengthy service imposed upon the accused.
Is there a troubling sign that you're seeing more of now than you've seen before, of repetitive incidences of a certain type or certain actions that are taking place?
I think as a whole, I think it's been mentioned earlier, that the region is increasing in population, and the voice of a victim is now being heard. People realize it is okay to I have feelings, I have rights, I need to be heard. And I think the message is getting out there. And yes, the numbers may increase with the number of responses by police, but that's because people are calling, and people want help, and people want change.
Nicole, one of the things about Neighbourhood Watch Brampton is getting the community together, getting to know who your neighbor is, getting to know how your neighbor 3 doors down works. Do they have a station wagon? Is it a strange car? When you're connecting all these neighbors together, that support system of being able to listen and believe and to hear other people, has this started to materialize in the Neighbourhood Watch Brampton, in being able to get people to talk more and be more of a community? Because we're so, insulated in games and TV. Who goes for a walk anymore if they don't have a pet?
Neighbourhood Watch Brampton, what I love about it is I've met personally so many fantastic people in our community. I'm particularly impressed with Peel Regional Police. I've worked closely with them. They have been phenomenal. One of the main messages that Neighbourhood Watch Brampton wants to get out there is we need to get out of our silos. We are all placed in little silos, whether it's cultural, whether it's religious, whether it's not, like you said, not knowing your neighbor. We need to get out and just get to know your neighbor. You don't have to be best friends, but just get to know each other, because when that happens, when we lift up our heads from our phones and we actually look around our neighborhoods, we can help each other. And the only thing good that will come out of this is positivity and treating others with respect and kindness and education. That's the big component of Neighbourhood Watch Brampton, is we want to educate and we want to empower. And we have to get to know our neighbors. Again, even if it's just, hi, how are you? That person still knows that, you know what, if I'm ever in trouble, I can go talk to her or him. So that's something that we really are wanting to grow with Neighbourhood Watch Brampton.
Detective Dale, we have a federal election coming up. You're under the provincial mandate, right?
Yes.
So if you were going to look at any type of federal changes from a police officer's point of view and someone who's on the front ground of what's going on at 21 Division, is there something that you would want to communicate to our viewers with a federal election coming up that would help with respect to domestic violence and spousal abuse?
I think it's important that the people that are
You're still going to have a job after this, don't worry. It's only a federal election. It's in October, but you can still go for it.
Yeah. I think it's important here that the message that we are conveying is that you do need to report these incidents. You do need to be aware of what's going on in your community. And the services that we do have are very valuable, and they need to be utilized. And they won't get the support we need if the belief is that they're not being used. So we need to make sure that they are being used effectively, so they will get the funding they need, and they will continue to be successful within the community.
One more point from a legal standpoint, as far as documentation, continuity, and something that is reoccurring. How would you advise someone who's experiencing an ongoing abusive relationship and wants to be able to somehow keep a record of it, so that in the event that something does happen, that they have some level of continuity and information? How would you guide them on that process?
I would suggest, in most cases, that you, for example, if you're receiving text messages, is a simple one, easy one to deal with, you don't delete them. You hang on to them. Emails, you save them. And if you have to, you save them onto a hard drive that your partner doesn't have access to. Because the last thing you want them to do is go in and clean it all out, and then your support, I wouldn't say justification, but the support elements for the charge in court are now erased. So you want to make sure you try and preserve that as best you can.
Talk to the folks at home regarding reporting, why they should report, and why you believe it's important to be proactive and stopping something before it gets too bad.
Well, first of all, the importance of reporting it early is perhaps you can prevent a serious incident, and I have the unfortunate opportunity. It was a great unit with great people, but I've worked in the homicide bureau. I've seen the worst of the worst, and the idea about reporting it early is you're getting your message out, and you're going to stop something before it becomes unstoppable, and with final implications that we cannot change or fix.
Nicole, I'm going to give you the first of the concluding sentences, if you wish, as the chairman of Neighbourhood Watch Brampton. What would you like to express to the viewers out there with regards to this town hall and hopefully what Neighbourhood Watch Brampton is going to accomplish?
First of all, I want to thank all of the people who've come out tonight: Peel Region Police, Peel Victim Services, Hope 24/7, the victims, how brave that they've come out and shared their story publicly. And Michael, to you, you've done a great job. Thank you for helping us with this. All I want to do from this is, I've learned if you're out there and you know that you can't take anymore and this is wrong, please reach out. Please get help. We will believe you. There is tons of support out there. Please, all I'm asking is, even if one woman says, I can't do this anymore, I won't do this anymore, and you reach out, we've done our job at Neighbourhood Watch Brampton.
Detective Dale, last word from you. What would you say to our folks at home with regards to reporting and domestic abuse?
I would urge all those who are feeling that there is an issue at home or within their environment that they need to get that message out, because there is help out there, not only for yourself, but for the person that is causing the issues. And I think that's our biggest message here.
On behalf of Neighbourhood Watch Brampton, Brampton Focus, Faisal Khan, Don McLeod, Nicole Cedrone, the chairman of Neighbourhood Watch Brampton Focus, I'm Michael A. Charbon. Thank you to our guests, and thank you to you for watching.